Hey, welcome back. Today, we're tackling a massive question. Maybe the question. How are we supposed to live? But instead of turning to old school philosophy, our guide today is going to be a little different. It's a framework, really. A unique way to map out your own mind so you can build a way of life that actually fits you.
So yeah, this is the big one. But what if the answer isn't something you find in a book or from a guru? What if it's already in here, inside your own head? The idea we're exploring today is that before you can figure out how to live, you first need a map of how you think.
And here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with that ultimate question. Then I'm going to walk you through how to build that mental map. After that, we'll look at what happens when your map gets outdated, and finally, how a little shift in perspective lets you become the architect of your own life. All right, first things first, we're setting our course. We are taking this gigantic, ancient philosophical question, and we're going to approach it almost like an engineer would. We're going to treat our way of life not as some abstract idea, but as a system that we can actually design. Now, to do that, we need a special kind of tool. The source material calls it the thought space. And look, I know that sounds a little heady, but don't worry. Just think of it like an architectural blueprint for your own mind. It's a way to see all your thoughts and beliefs laid out visually so you can finally get a handle on how they're all connected. So let's actually start building this mental model. In this section, we're going to break down the key parts of your thought space. Getting these concepts down is totally essential for everything that comes next, so let's dive in. First up, the thought space itself. I want you to imagine your mind is this huge invisible city. Every single little thought you have, like, I need coffee, or that's a cool song. Each one is like a single point, a location on the map. A perspective, say your opinion on a political issue, well, that's like a street connecting a bunch of those points. And a really big concept, like your idea of love or success, that's an entire neighborhood. This is the whole blueprint of your inner world. Okay, next up is the vector. So in our mental city, a vector is just a specific route you take from point A to point B. It's a single train of thought. For example, your belief that working out is good for me is a vector. It might start at the thought, I want to feel healthy, and travel along a path of experience and logic to the conclusion, I'm going to hit the gym today. It's your specific take on any given subject.
And finally, we get to the most important piece of the puzzle, the basis. Think of your basis as the default street grid of your entire mental city. It's the collection of all those normal vectors you just inherited from your family, your culture, school, you name it. A really common basis in our society might include vectors like go to college, get a 9-to-5 job, get married. It's basically the pre-installed operating system that's running your thoughts on autopilot.
Okay, so we've got this mental map, our basis. But what happens when the map you're using doesn't match the world you're actually living in? That's what this section is all about. We're looking at the big problem. When your internal compass, your normal, starts pointing you in the wrong direction. Now, the source uses a pretty technical phrase for this, being spatiotemporally misaligned. It's a total mouthful, I know, but all it really means is that your internal map is out of date. The rules and beliefs you're living by might have been designed for a different time and place, and now they're just causing friction with your real life today.
And the source gives a great example of this. Think about ancient religious texts. A core principle from, say, 2,000 years ago about community or charity might hold a really profound truth. But if you try to apply the literal, word-for-word instructions from that time to our world today, our global digital world, you can end up miles away from what the original author probably intended.
This is kind of what that gap looks like. On one side, you've got the author's original idea, a clear, straight path. But on the other, you see how that same path gets all twisted and broken when it's jammed into a context it was never built for. That's what an old basis looks like when it starts to crack under the pressure of a new reality.
So, if our internal map is broken, how do we fix it? Well, this next section gives us the solution, and it requires a pretty radical shift in how we see things. We actually have to step outside of our own head for a minute and look at our own thinking from a distance. See, when you're living inside your own default basis, the world seems pretty straightforward. There's the normal way to live, right? That's all the familiar stuff on the left. And then there's everything else. The eccentric, the weird, the wrong way. That's the stuff on the right. We see it as us versus them, our way versus their way.
But here's the big aha moment. When you get that view from above, when you zoom out, you suddenly realize that normal and eccentric aren't actually opposites. They're just two different systems, two different ways of organizing a life.
They're both just a basis, a structured framework for getting through the world. They're two sides of the exact same coin.
And that realization leads us right here to our final section and the big conclusion. If all these different ways of life are just different systems, different frameworks, what does that mean for us? Well, it means we get to choose. And that brings us to the core takeaway, this 3-step process for becoming your own architect. Step 1, you have to let go. You have to consciously drop the old, outdated definitions of normal that you've been carrying around. Step 2, you redefine. You draw a new map, a new basis that's built on your own life, your own experiences. And step 3, you act. You start living by that new map you just drew.
And here it is, the final answer from our source. The answer to that huge question, how should one live, is just this: live as you want. You have the freedom to design your own basis. But, and this is so important, that freedom doesn't mean you're free from consequences. Causality is real. Your actions, your choices, they will always have an effect.
So we'll leave you with this question. Now that you understand that you're not just living in your mental city, but you are its chief architect, what are you going to build? What will the streets and neighborhoods and guiding principles of your way of life look like? Thanks for tuning in.